To my handlers in the FBI, did you guys enjoy that little show we put on in the courtroom today? I kinda did. I found it a little funny. I doubt Judge Lohr did quite as much, though. She looked like she was having a rough time there towards the end. Today there was a hearing to show that I was in compliance to Judge Delacope's illegal orders placed over me. She wanted to see if I was keeping up with my mental health because she deemed me mentally ill without any legal basis or any evaluation. She just did that stuff herself from the bench. Made it up. The order is void on its face, ab initio, so to speak, meaning it was void before it even got put into the docket. She knew she was committing fraud and committing a crime in that courtroom. There's no way else to look at it, and I actually sent in a verified criminal complaint in order to prove that to both her and the FBI. That's what made today so fun. So essentially, I know that these orders are void, and nobody is doing anything other than committing a federal felony inside the courtroom themselves or aiding the feds in an active investigation. There's no in between, and you can tell who's who by the exact actions and the routes they're trying to go with it. So they said that to comply with Judge Cope's order, I need to file all this documentation and records with the clerk of court so that she can see I'm really getting the mental health care she determined me to need, with no evaluation and no legal basis. So there's nothing to comply with. My version of compliance was giving them a VA police report that details probable cause of a felony kidnapping occurring attached to this very hearing. Eek. However, sadly I didn't get a chance to confront Judge Cope like I was hoping to today. They played some procedural games. They cycled in a new judge because it was just a simple compliance hearing. Or maybe it was to not have a repeat of what happened in the courtroom that day with Judge Cope, where she completely loses control of the courtroom and looks like a stammering, bumbling criminal by the end of it. Well, their plan didn't work, not one bit, nor did the clerk obstruction either in procedural bullshit there, trying to prevent my explosive filings from coming into the courtroom today. I got it rammed in there, guys, just on time, and that caused a real big problem for Judge Lohr. Now, this is the interesting part to me, is that both of these judges had a very similar reaction in that they completely lost control of the courtroom. They had no control over the narrative that was being talked about at all anymore in the courtroom, and they basically became deferent to me, at least until Judge Cope went back on the attack and started trying to screw me up. In Judge Cope's courtroom, this was the actual final injunction. She was trying to come up with any reason to say that I'm dangerous. She was already coaching the petitioner and objecting for her, just really breaking the rules of judicial canons, bias and misconduct specifically. But then there's one specific portion where I object to something that my ex-wife is saying. Judge Cope starts to overrule, and I'm gonna keep talking. So I keep talking. I keep talking until I say the right combination of words that lets her know that the feds are already up their asses with a microscope. There's not a chance in hell that there wasn't an investigation already open by the time I was in that courtroom. The exact things that was said, actually, is my ex-wife was making comments about my mental health and all these things that she supposedly knows that were complete lies. So I objected. But the objection itself directly stated that the VA has already contradicted the claims that were made in this Baker Act petition and in the medical records of the facility that received me. It's already been kicked back as fraud. And then she just stopped. Looked at me for a good few seconds, literally sighed, and just said, "Really? Tell me more." Mind you, this was supposed to be during my ex-wife's closing argument and her time to speak, so very odd. And then I just start telling her all this stuff about how the VA is already classifying it as fraud, my doctors are contradicting everything. It's actually literally everything. They're shocked that I was ever Baker Acted. After hearing all that, Judge Cope looked like she needed a break for a cigarette, and she audibly sighed and put her hand right over her eyes like this, right in the courtroom. Completely looked like she was about to have a panic-induced breakdown. And then she started to ask me more questions about what I was talking about. and we went very deeply into the falsified writs of habeas corpus that was found in my VA medical records. I've been looking into it. There's never been somebody prosecuted of this crime, and she was trying to pretend like she didn't understand what I was saying, but she understood full well. One of her deputies had used a falsified writs of habeas corpus petition form as a smokescreen to trick the VA into detaining me, because they had no legal authority and no just cause. They manufactured a reason and then took away my rights with that form, and that was it. Interesting little side note about the falsified writs of habeas corpus is that that is considered fraud upon the court. It's not exactly a standalone crime by itself. It's more of like a doctrine that builds into other crimes, where perjury to commit fraud upon the court. But committing fraud within the court to take away somebody's rights is considered an extremely egregious offense. So there's no statute of limitations on anything that's achieved through fraud upon the court. That's what this woman was realizing. Oh my God, these deputies lied to me so badly about what was going on in this case that not only did this not come up, and that fraud upon the court makes it so that she can be hunted forever for these crimes. This is never going away, Judge Cope. I'll see you eventually. But she was the first person to see the video evidence of the stupid shit they did at the pool, getting caught on camera, committing attempted murder. By even starting that hearing, she was already looking at some problems, because she should have recused herself due to a personal relationship with Bob Galtieri, the sheriff. That's exactly who I was claiming was colluding with my ex-wife to take away my rights and take away my child with that hearing. This was all said in the hearing. And then once she had that little back and forth with me and had her little mental breakdown and left for chambers for a little bit to collect herself, literally, she audibly sighed on the court recording, just, I need a few minutes to process this, and then left the courtroom. You okay there, Judge? It's almost like, some serious stuff just landed right on you. She knew she was neck deep in the conspiracy already. There was no chance that she could ever get out of it, due to her personal relationship with Bob. The deputies literally screwed her so hard that they forced her to jump headfirst into this conspiracy, and when she came back from chambers, it was like a completely different person. She had her game face on. Now it was all about controlling the court, finding that Keith is dangerous. Except the panic that induced made it have to happen at all costs. The last 15 minutes of that hearing on the recording is evidence gold, with, not exaggerating, at least 20 federal crimes and state crimes committed within those 15 minutes alone. And then probably 15 to 20 more within the next 30 minutes after the hearing. She had threatened me during the hearing, committed direct extortion herself. She was weaponizing all different types of things in false allegations. She even went so far as to base the entire order on completely ill-gotten evidence that violates a whole bunch of laws and judicial rules, violates all of the evidence procedures. It was never talked about in the hearing, anything that she used to find me as dangerous. And she even classified my speech, my TikTok videos, as a reason that my child is in danger, because for some reason it's going to cause cops to come to my door and shoot me. She admitted to that. My daughter is going to be caught in the crossfire. Crossfire of what, Judge? Why are the cops coming to my door in the first place? That's the question that you'll need to answer. And then after the hearing and our little argument at the end there, where I was calling you a soon-to-be felon and civil rights violator, you spoliated the record yourself. You tried fucking with the recording so you couldn't be heard arguing with me. Well, you messed that up too, and like a goober, your finger slipped right at the perfect time for you to be caught saying on the record, "You'll get the facts I choose to put on the record." Oh, so it's your choice what gets put into the Appellate Index record? It must be, because you shredded all the evidence I put into the hearing. Anything that would have made you look guilty or impeached your witness. Damn, that's some serious shit. So Judge Cope chose to double down and then attack when she felt like she was losing control of her courtroom. And she earned herself most likely a life sentence, unless she's very seriously cooperating with the feds right now. I'm not going to accept anything else. Now here's where the dichotomy starts. Judge Cope is direct co-conspirator. At that time, she thought she was really going to be able to get away with this, and the boys at the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office would be able to take care of little old Keith. But they couldn't. And they left so much evidence around, plus I was pretty quick at getting the feds involved. Like before they ever launched the second attack type of quick. So she chose to double down and attack. She needed to get control at all costs, even if she committed 100 crimes directly on the recording to do it. Now, Judge Lohr, her replacement for today, was probably just put there as a placeholder so she could very quickly sign an order that he's compliant no matter what is said and be done in 30 seconds. But then I did the same exact trap to her, and a very different result. Now today, they were trying to rush this and make it look procedural without having anybody recognize that it's a sham hearing. But I didn't let that happen. They even tried to play these obstruction games or smoke screening, whatever you'd like to call it, by preventing certain filings of mine from making it into the court docket in time for the hearing. They basically tried to kick it back, say that it was invalid and needs to be redone, blah, 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 blah. But I just kept ramming it through, and they eventually accepted it as an emergency motion in time for the hearing to start. Thanks, guys. I know you could read it the first time, so we're going to have a talk about that. But we get into that hearing, and she tries to immediately just ask me the bare bones basic question of when was the last time you were at the VA? I said like 2 weeks ago. Oh, you're compliant. Have a good day. No, we're not doing that today. There's none of that, Judge. So while she was trying to get that over with as fast as possible and just run out of the courtroom so that she couldn't be caught on recording, potentially committing any crimes or getting herself caught in any binds as to expose an investigation or get herself in trouble. But again, I didn't allow that. She was trying to jump off, literally told me, have a good day, we'll call it here, you're in compliance. And I said, no. There's been fraud occurring in here that has led to this order even being put on file. We're only in this compliance hearing because of a bullshit fraudulent order where a crime occurred. She tried to deflect, and then I used all the proper rules of like, you have been properly notified of a felony that is on a docket. You are now some type of judicial authority. You accepted this hearing today, that is yours. You accepted that motion for a verified criminal complaint, and you're going to deal with it. That's a catch-22 from hell. If she had her way, and if she had any legitimate control over that courtroom, it would have been done in about 45 seconds, and they would have just checked the box and not had any more hearings for this case. That would have been it. But instead, I turned it into your own little liability bomb, Judge Lohr, because once you heard too much, you couldn't shut off the court recording and stop the hearing until we had reached the natural conclusion and I was satisfied with the answers. She started that hearing as just a placeholder to check the box, and she was hoping to be done with it in 30 to 60 seconds. And if she had any control of the courtroom legitimately, she would have had her way. But instead, I was questioning her for about 15 to 20 minutes straight. All about due process violations, what she's going to be doing about what is happening here today. She tried every possible way to procedurally deflect these things, but I got her so boxed in that she admitted that she's going to have to make some type of order about this verified criminal complaint and the contents within it. She's also admitted that she's a mandatory reporter and that since there is allegations of child abuse in there, she will have to report felony child abuse herself. And then I got her to agree that she legally has to put this all into the docket in an order that I can then take to the FBI. Not only was there no contempt of court or any attempt to control the courtroom, as soon as I invoked these things, the courtroom was mine in essence. It was now a deposition of what you're going to do with these felony allegations, and what you choose to do with them is going to dictate what happens with your career and livelihood. She put herself into a massive bind by accepting to do that court hearing and getting caught in all of these contradictions as well. Now you're attached to it, Judge Lohr, welcome. And the reality of it is if she does not pass those allegations up to DCF herself and initiate her own report, which will have more weight than me, it'll completely bypass all this obstructionist bullshit. Then she'll be committing felony failure to report, reckless child endangerment, both very serious felonies. Similar stuff with the verified criminal complaint, obstruction of justice directly for her. So by all this occurring in the courtroom today, she just got plopped right into an extraordinarily serious federal case. That the RICO predicates are attempted murder, domestic terrorism, human trafficking, all types of craziness. I don't think she wants to be attached to that, nor does she want to be responsible for a child potentially getting hurt worse than they already hurt her. So I trust that you're a decent human being, Judge Lohr. I think you're going to do the right thing just based on how our conversation went in the courtroom today and what you agreed to do. And I'm going to hold you to that. There will be accountability for it. You might keep judicial immunity, maybe, depending on how this goes. But you won't skirt the civil liability or the reputational damage of a 1983 claim with your name attached to it. So let's do the right thing and I'll possibly be able to keep you out of it. Well, I'm sorry that we had to meet this way, Judge Lohr, but I appreciate you for the help today, and I think you're going to do the right thing. I'm looking forward to potentially meeting you. So we might be both federal witnesses together. Wouldn't that be exciting? I'll be seeing you and Judge Cope soon, just on different sides of the table.